Okay, so now we are ready to do the walking. Now the walking is the same as the crouching. If we go back to the player and go to the player base, it's actually the same process as what we have been doing here with the crouch. So try to do this alone if you can, and try to see how far you get without my help. It's a very nice exercise. And if you want to continue with me, let's go ahead and continue. I'm going to go ahead in the input and make a new one. And let's go to input and click on input action. And let's call this one IA walk. And let's go ahead inside of here. Now, inside of here, we don't really need to do anything. Let's go to the input mapping context. And inside of here, let's click on the plus and add it down here as the IA walk. And for the walking, I am going to hold shift. So clicking on this one, clicking shift on my keyboard. And as for the triggers, I'm going to click here, two pluses, and the first one is pressed and the second one is released. So this button will trigger whenever I press it to walk and whenever I release it to stop walking. So now let's go ahead and save here and let's go back to the player base. And in here, I'm going to right click and write IA walk and select my newly created input action. Now for this one, just like before, let's drag from this boolean and write a branch. And from the true, we will be walking because this is when we have pressed shift. And when we release the shift, we will stop walking here from the false. So let's make a new function just like before. I'm going to call this one f walk. And let's go back to the event graph. And I'm going to drag this f walk here and connect it here and drag it again and connect it down here. Now, again, just like before, we need a boolean to either walk or stop walking. So I'm going to compile and click on the inputs and call this one be walk. And now for this boolean, I am going to set it to true when I want to walk, and I'm going to set it to false when I stop walking. Now, just like before, I want to run it through the server when I am the client. So I'm going to right click down here, say server walk, and remember to set the replicates to run on server and reliable. Now let's go ahead and take this f walk, connect it, and let's take this input for the boolean and drop it into the event for it to automatically create this variable here. Okay, so the majority is finished. Let's go into the walk function. And inside of here, let's right click this one and promote it into a local variable. And this one we can call walk local and go ahead and drag from here and say switch has authority. Now, just like before, we want to run the code through the server first if we are the client. So drag from here and say server walk, the one we just made. And now we are running it through the server first. Remember to take this and connect it with the walk, double click to make a reroute node, and just make it a bit more organized. Now let's take this local walk variable and drop it into here, drag from here, write a branch, and let us connect it because we have to ask, is this true or false? Because if it is true, we want to walk. And if it is false, we want to stop walking. We want to maybe start running. So go ahead and connect everything. It needs to look like this. Now from here, what we basically want to do is you can see in the character movement component, we have something called the max walk speed. And this is just the same as running. I don't know why it's called walk speed, but it's actually also the running speed. For this one, this is what we want to adjust when we want to walk and not walk. So what we need to do is take this character movement component and take from here and say set max walk speed. This is what we want to adjust. And we want to connect it here. And of course, it doesn't really need to be this high. So if you go to the character movement component, right now the running speed is 600. When we want to walk, we need to reduce it to a lower number. So I can actually just right click this one, promote this to a variable, and I'm just going to call this one walk speed. I don't like to have static numbers like that. So let's compile and click on this walk speed variable and set it to something like, let's just set it to 100 or actually just 200 for now. Random number, we are going to change it later. And when we are not walking anymore, let's just take this, copy paste it here. Let's promote this to a variable again and call this one, for example, run speed, and go and put it down here and connect the false to it. So when we are not walking anymore, we are going to set it back to our run speed and click on the run speed. Remember to set it set the default value. Go ahead and compile first. It asks you to compile the blueprint. Go ahead and compile and set it to 600, just like default. And now we are running again. Now, just like before, I need a boolean to use inside of my animation blueprint. So I'm going to make a new boolean here, call it be walk. And now I can take this boolean and set it to true when I'm walking. And I copy paste it down here and set it to false when I'm not walking. Now remember, this has to be replicated so the client knows if this is true or false for the animation blueprint. So go ahead and set this to replicated as well. And with that finished, we are finished and we have to move ahead to the animation blueprint. But let's just try it out. Let's click on play. And if I click on shift, you can see I'm walking now. I'm walking slowly. The animation we need to fix in the next lesson. But as you can see, if I release my walking, I can run again. So this is very, very cool. So let's go ahead and do the animation blueprint.